Some people apologize before they even speak. That habit usually began in a room where their feelings already felt like too much. You learned early that tone could change everything. A sigh, a stare, a long pause could make you feel instantly in the way. What looks like politeness in adulthood is often something older. It is caution shaped by childhood, not simply good manners. Today, we are looking at the wound underneath that reflex. By the end, the pattern will feel far less mysterious. When a child learns that presence needs softening, words arrive with guilt attached. The adult keeps saying sorry before saying anything real. You might apologize for asking a question. You might apologize before sharing an opinion, even when nobody has challenged you. You may say sorry when someone interrupts you. You may say sorry while handing over work you finish perfectly. In relationships, this can sound gentle on the surface. Underneath, it often carries fear, self-erasure, and old emotional weather. At work, people call you thoughtful and easygoing. They do not always see how much of that ease is actually self-protection. You try to take up less space than you need. You speak carefully, as if every sentence should arrive already forgiven. Even your body can join the apology. Your voice lowers, your shoulders fold, and your eyes search for signs of disapproval. But there is an earlier layer underneath this. The roots go further back than most people realize. The child you were learned to scan before speaking. Safety depended less on honesty and more on how others might react. Maybe a parent was loving but unpredictable. Maybe they were stressed, distracted, critical, or emotionally unreachable in the moments that mattered. So you learned not to enter a room with full force. You entered gently, carefully, already editing your own existence. Children do not call this adaptation. They just feel the room, memorize the rules, and become whatever causes the least friction. If your needs were met with annoyance, apology became a bridge to connection. It softened your request before anyone else could harden. If sadness made adults uncomfortable, you learned to hide it. If anger threatened closeness, you swallowed it before it reached your face. That early adaptation became your adult communication style. What started as survival is now identity, which is why it feels so automatic. You may not even feel afraid anymore. You just feel responsible for making your presence easy for everyone else. And here is what makes this harder to see. The pattern often gets praised before it gets understood. People like agreeable children. They especially like children who do not add emotional weight to an already strained home. Picture a child at the dinner table. The adults speak in clipped voices, and the child asks for water like it might be an inconvenience. Picture that same child in a classroom years later. She raises her hand halfway, then whispers her answer with an apology built in. No one may have directly said, "Your voice is a burden." But children learn from atmosphere long before they learn from language. The kind of attention you got as a child becomes your expectation of closeness. If attention came with tension, speaking starts to feel expensive. This is why apologizing can happen before you know what you feel. Your nervous system is trying to prevent rejection before it arrives. The role you played at home shaped more than your behavior. It shaped what your body believes will keep love stable. Children who had to stay easy often become adults who apologize for ordinary human needs. Rest, help, space, time, preference all start feeling negotiable. You may say sorry before crying. You may say sorry before asking for clarification, as if confusion itself is a flaw. And the strangest part of this pattern is this. The apology can appear even when nobody has done anything wrong. It shows up before the phone call, before the email, before the first sentence in therapy. It arrives like a protective reflex. But there is a deeper layer still. Sometimes the apology is not for what you are saying, but for being someone who needs to say it. That is a painful thing for the child to carry. It means existence feels safest when it stays edited. Imagine being asked, "How do you feel?" Your mind goes blank, then offers something smaller than the truth. Imagine needing help with something simple. Your first instinct is not to ask, but to apologize for having limits. You may over-explain small mistakes because being misunderstood once felt dangerous. You may rush to repair moods that never belonged to you. When someone looks disappointed, your body can panic before your mind catches up. Childhood taught you that another person's mood might become your problem. That is why even healthy conflict can feel strangely heavy. It brushes against an older fear becoming the difficult one. If you have been recognizing yourself here, share which part hits closest. Was it apologizing for needs, feelings, or just taking up space? Did this pattern begin around one parent more than the other? Was it strongest at home, school, or around extended family? Sometimes one sentence from childhood tells the whole story. Don't start. Calm down. Not now. Why are you so sensitive? If any of those echoes still live in you, say which one. Naming it can show your adult self what your inner child still protects. And then notice this carefully. The apology was never random. It was a strategy built by experience. A child who felt emotionally expensive will often become an adult who prepays with politeness. Sorry becomes the fee for being heard. That is why compliments do not fully land. If kindness once disappeared without warning, acceptance can feel less believable than caution. Receiving care may even make you uncomfortable. Your system expects love to require management, not simple presence. You can see this in small moments. Someone says, "What do you need?" and you immediately answer, "Sorry, nothing." Or someone offers help, and you say, "I'm sorry, I should have handled it." Your shame arrives faster than your relief. Imagine an adult sitting in her car after work. She has done enough for one day, it still feels guilty for feeling tired. She replays a harmless conversation and hears herself apologizing 3 times. Not because she was wrong, but because speaking still feels like a risk. This is where childhood quietly follows adulthood. The child you were learned that ease for others mattered more than truth for you. And your inner child still mistakes self-erasure for safety. That is why simple expression can feel emotionally loaded. What makes this even more painful is how invisible it can look. People see niceness, but they do not see the fear underneath it. They may tell you that you are just considerate. They may never notice how often your apology interrupts your own reality. But the cost builds slowly. You stop trusting your reactions because you are always softening them before you hear them clearly. You start editing anger into sadness. You edit sadness into silence, and silence into a smile that tires you out. This is when you start to understand yourself differently. You were not born apologizing for existence. You were trained into emotional smallness. That early adaptation became your adult voice, your pace, your posture, even your timing. It touched more than language. You may wait too long to bring up hurt. You may rehearse boundaries for days, then apologize the moment you finally set one. When someone says you never have to apologize, it can sound comforting. It can also feel strangely unsafe, like losing your only shield. Because the apology did 2 jobs at once. It tried to protect connection, and it tried to protect you from your own visibility. And here is what most people miss. Releasing the apology is not just changing words. It is grieving the child who needed them. That child was trying to stay loved. That child was trying not to trigger distance, anger, ridicule, or emotional withdrawal. Children who had to earn softness often become adults who cannot receive softness freely. Love feels safer when it is managed, not trusted. So even healing can feel awkward at first. Being direct may feel rude, exposed, or emotionally reckless. The most painful insight is often this one. You may have learned to apologize not for mistakes, but for impact. Not impact in the healthy sense of accountability. Impact in the old sense of simply existing in another person's emotional field. Maybe you apologized because a parent was overwhelmed. Maybe you apologized because your sadness made an adult colder instead of closer. Maybe nobody explained why the room shifted. The child you simply concluded, "It must be me, I should come in softer." That conclusion can last for years. It can shape friendships, dating, leadership, creativity, and every place your real voice wants room. You may become deeply attuned to everyone else's comfort. Meanwhile, your own discomfort becomes background noise you barely register. This is why the pattern feels so personal. It is woven into identity, not just behavior, which is why change can feel emotional. But understanding changes the frame. What started as survival is now identity, and identity can be questioned with compassion. You do not need to shame yourself for apologizing. Shame only repeats the original wound by telling you your response is the problem. The wiser question is gentler. What did this apology once protect, and what does it cost you now? It may have protected attachment in childhood. In adulthood, it can weaken self-trust, blur boundaries, and teach others to overlook your real needs. It can make your pain arrive already minimized. It can make your preferences sound optional, even to people who would have respected them. So the goal is not becoming harsh. The goal is learning that honesty does not have to enter the room asking forgiveness. That is the emotional reframe many people never received. Your voice is not a disruption simply because it has weight. Your needs are not aggressive because they are clear. Your feelings are not too much because they require a response. The child you were needed adaptation. The adult you are needs permission to stop paying for belonging with self-erasure. Try noticing the apology before it leaves your mouth. Not to judge it, just to hear the old fear hiding inside it. Sometimes the truest replacement is not confidence right away. Sometimes it is one steady sentence, I have something to say. Or, I need help with this. Or, that hurt me. No apology, no performance, no softening beyond basic kindness. At first, your body may protest. That does not mean you are wrong. It means your history is being gently contradicted. This is the moment your adult self meets your inner child. One still expects consequence, while the other begins offering protection. And that protection sounds different from apology. It sounds like steadiness, clarity, and respect that does not require disappearing first. If this pattern has been yours, reflect on where it first began. Which childhood room taught you to enter life already sorry? And what do you apologize for most now? Your feelings, your needs, your boundaries, your questions, your timing, your very presence. If this gave language to something you have carried quietly, let that be heard below. Your story may name someone else's hidden pattern too. And if you want more of this kind of childhood to adulthood understanding, subscribe to Aven Psychology. This channel is here to make old patterns visible. Because some adults do not speak softly by nature. They speak softly because the child they were learned that love felt safer when they arrived already sorry.